Maybe we'll get a report. Okay. Mona and,
1 minute.
okay,
You got 1 minute.
Mona
They'll probably
and
hear us
Phil.
if we yell.
Yeah.
Actually, if we have a quorum, we should start on time, whether
Right,
they're
at
here
6
or not.
Right, absolutely. It's 6, I think we can give a few seconds.
Yeah, I did too. Welcome. Okay, am I there yet?
You are good to go.
All right.
No, but it's 6 o'clock.
Okay, I get that. Oh, here she is.
Here she comes. Yep, we'll give her time. Good evening. Ready?
I had a little emergency as I was walking out. No worries, we understand.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the January 23rd, 2024 regular meeting for the Township Board of the Charter Township of Meridian. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we begin our agenda this evening, I'd like to introduce to everyone our newest member, Mr. Peter Trezise. Mr. Trezise was selected as a township trustee on January the 9th and sworn in by Clerk Guthrie on January the 16th. Welcome, Mr. Trezise.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I feel we should clap.
I know, we're glad.
Was it that hard to find a volunteer?
We'll talk about it later. And now for the roll call from Deputy Clerk Gordon.
Supervisor Jackson.
Here.
Clerk Guthrie.
Here.
Treasurer DeShane.
Here.
Trustee Sunland.
Here.
Trustee Hendrickson.
Here.
Trustee Wilson.
Here.
Trustee Trezise.
Here.
All board members are present.
Thank you. Item 4 on our agenda is a presentation. Tonight we have a presentation from Fire Chief Hamill. He's going to introduce the new EMT firefighter.
Supervisor Board, thank you. Joshua, come on up. So just a little history here. So if you think back to last fall when Manager Walsh and the chief and myself and we started talking about recruiting and retention, right? So remember about a year and 9 months ago, we hired 2 EMTs to send to medic school as part of our new process, sending people to get educated instead of hiring those that are medics because such a decline of medics. Well, Josh is one of our first that actually came from the recruiting program, but also firefighter Irving and firefighter Schott were in class with him for the last 19 months. So they worked him over pretty hard. So they made it easy on me. So there's some success in that. So I thank you guys for, giving us the opportunity to hire EMTs, number one, but also with the recruit and retention program that's been put in place over the last 6 months, it's working. So Joshua, I got a phonetics here. Hanksbach. Did I get it? All right. Because the way it's spelled doesn't really sound that way. But he's from Grand Ledge. Like I said, he went to paramedic training with the 2 firefighters we have in Livingston County. It's a 19-month program. very successful. He's still working on taking the test, so he's not a paramedic yet, but we have a lot of faith in him. He worked for NISA, which is Williamston. They actually put him through school. We stole him from him. But we're really excited to have him. He's hit the ground running like they all have, and he's really a good fit for the department, and we're really excited to have him. And this is Joshua, and I'm going to let him introduce his family with his wife and his daughter, right?
Well, this is my beautiful wife, Jessica, and my beautiful, almost 1-year-old daughter, Madison.
Want to come up here and say a couple words?
First of all, I want to appreciate everybody and welcome me here so far. It's been tremendous working for Meridian so far. I believe, 2 weeks now? I've been in the job 9 years, so the fact that I've got the experience is one thing, but coming in here and learning all of Meridian's new ways and the teachings of new ways of how to be a good paramedic and a good firefighter is what I'm looking forward to. It not only benefits me, but it benefits my family. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to hopefully make this my new second home. So I appreciate everybody and allowing me to be here.
Thank you very much.
Good to meet you, Josh.
Hi, Josh. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome, Joshua. Glad to have you here.
Welcome, Joshua.
Welcome. Chief Hamill, can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So that brings our count
236.
36.
Actually, Leslie's on the agenda tonight. Leslie Ireland, she is the last of our hirees to get to 36. She started her orientation this week.
Oh,
So her first 24-hour shift will be Thursday.
okay.
So it's working.
Yes.
Thank you.
You made good choices. Thank you very much. Item 5 on our agenda is citizens address agenda items and non-agenda items. I haven't seen any green slips tonight. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the board at this time? All right, then we'll move on to item 6, which is the township manager's report. Mr. Frank Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Board, it's good to be with you this evening. I'd like to start with a few acknowledgements. I want to thank Director Clark, who filled in for all the management about 2 weeks ago when we were out for a variety of reasons. So I wanted to acknowledge that and thank you. Also wanted to acknowledge some of our team members who are celebrating big days this week. So I'd like to start with our IT director, Stephen Giebus. Stephen joined us on January 27 of 1992. So this is 32 years this week for Stephen, and we're very fortunate to have him. And right next to him, also hired on January 27th, but this was in 2003, Chief Rick Grillo. So Chief Grillo has now 21 years of service with the township. Jeff Romick in our fire department. Captain Romick was hired on January 24th of 2000, so 24 years for Captain Romick. And Adam Slavic. Adam was hired January 25th of 2016. He has 8 years of service to the township. So we appreciate all of their service to the township. I'd like to welcome personally Trustee Trezise. Our team looks forward to working with you, and thank you for joining our team. Dear management, you remember last year we were able to, with DNR approval, we were able to call 357. The DNR this year lowered that number to 300. So we are currently, the archery took about 140. So the police department, through their firearms, has about 160. We're already within 6 of that. So we're going to close that out here in the next couple of days. Appreciate the work of everyone on that. It's more than just police. It's more than just the hunters. It's also our parks department who goes through and delivers all the venison out to the food banks. And it's not just Meridian Township. People within 2 or 3 counties benefit from this program with the venison, and we're thankful to everyone who's involved in that. Just an update, yes, on fire and police staffing. We are, yes, at 36 with the fire staffing. We're now at 32 with the police staffing, but we have 7 in the, what I call the hopper. We have 4 or 5 through the academy, and we have 2 or 3 that, and I'm updating you because I want you to let you know that the program is working. We now have 2 or 3 that we're interviewing for laterals or people returning to the department. So that's gonna put us, if everything goes well, it's gonna put us at the high 30s and within striking distance of 42. We have not been at full staffing in the police department in 10 years. We have a position open in our accountant position, and we're getting really good interest in that position. Director Iani is working on that. We have a position in administrative assistant up in engineering position with Robin's retirement. So that puts us at about 96.5% occupancy within the township, and we're proud of that. The Chief Hamill informed me this week that the emergency siren program that the Township Board started maybe 11 or 12 years ago, and that was to place 15 or 16 warning sirens throughout the township. We got off to a slow start, but really has accelerated here. And of course, as you know, the board this past September in the budget for '24 approved $120,000 to finish the program. So the last 4 sirens will be going up sometime in March or April, and the entire township will now be covered in the last 10 or 12 years. A $450,000 project in all, paid for in cash. The Marshall Park Playground improvements, that is moving forward with the Park Commission. It's going to take us a while to first of all, determine what playground equipment, but we're thinking about maybe a coming soon sign here in the next couple months or so, once we determine what it's going to be. But I would expect installation in the summer or fall by the time we get it, and then order the playground equipment. It takes quite a while, but we'll do something to notify the neighbors up there. I want to thank Director Clark for her work on the CIA. As you know, when we did the TIF, the tax increment financing for the Village of Oaklands project, it took a number of people, a number of visits, and a lot of time. And this is a project for the most part, I know a couple of board members have been involved, but for the most part, Director Clark has taken this on, and we have the county and CATA in support. And last night, Director Clark met with the airport, and all signs are that is going to move forward, and that leaves just LCC. So we're making great progress on that. I want to acknowledge Culver's, the owners, Corey and January Kavala. They celebrated their 20th anniversary this past week, and believe it or not, there's 1,000 Culver stores in Michigan, started in Wisconsin, and they are number 238 overall. There's 1,000 nationwide Culvers, and there's 70 in Michigan, and they are number 238 overall. So they came in. The one up here on Central Park Drive is one of the early on Culvers in the entire franchise. And then, of course, they also own the one in DeWitt and the one down by the highway. But some of us were able to join over at Culver's and thank them for being in the township. And then the Prime Meridian magazine is underway through the communications department. Manager Deal is working on that with all of our staff, and you'll be seeing that soon. That's an update on what's going on with a few of our projects. The flooring project continues at the police department, and there's lots of other things going on, but that's kind of an update on overall what's going on with our office. Thank you, unless there's any questions.
Board members? Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Thank you.
We now move to item 7, board member reports of activities and announcements. Mr. DeShane.
Thank you, Supervisor. First of all, I want to welcome again Trustee Trezise. Peter and his wife Sherry have been residents for 35 years.
About that, yeah.
So since the 1980s, and I know that ever since you moved here, you've been a very active part of the community. And we're confident you're going to make an excellent trustee because you know this community so well. Your board experience, 16 years at the school board, is going to be helpful. This is a board, and it's a board that follows very strict rules. And your zoning knowledge on the planning commission since 2018. That's a long time to be in the planning commission. The planning commissioners work really hard, and you have some very long meetings, and so thank you for that service leading up to this service. So I also want to thank Joshua, our new firefighter, and also to commend Chief Hamill. We're at 36, and he's done an excellent job of recruitment. We've at our number, and with an 18, 19-month training program that they have to go through to reach paramedic, that's not an easy ask to get to, and you've done that again and again and again, so thank you for keeping us at 36. The number one service that our residents value is our police and fire services, and we've got top-notch people there thanks to Chief Hamill and Chief Grillo. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay. Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I want to echo Treasurer DeShane's comments regarding our new trustee. And in addition, he's a fantastic election worker and chair and has been, and so is his wife, Sherry. So if you run for office, I will be very happy, but also very sad to lose you on the election worker front because you and your wife are fantastic. And so I thank you for that. And I look forward to all of your knowledge that you will be bringing to the board. I want to thank the township manager for two things. One is letting me know about Culver's. I was able to go there Friday night after you let me know about it and just thank them for their 20 years and all the service that they've given to the township. And then two, township manager Frank Walsh and I had a discussion about the security of elections, and he took the charge on that and remedied some concerns that I had right away. And we were able to make changes to have better control of our security measures here for our voters. And so I wanted to thank you for that. You took swift action, and my entire team really appreciates it, especially our deputy clerk who was on me about it for a little bit, just a little bit. And then I just want the board to be aware, I'm not sure how this happened. When we put the agenda together and then the clerk puts the packet together, I did notice that a packet piece has been switched in the packet and uploaded online. So typically I put the packet together and then one of my roles as clerk is for record retention, and we retain all of the packets for the township board. And so I'd like the manager to be aware that there was a packet piece that was switched. I'm not sure how it happened, but we need to make sure that the packet doesn't get switched because I have to save it as a record. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that.
Actually, I was responsible for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It was 4 lines added to one of the items, and Michelle and I worked it out. So that's why there's a different memo for appointments on your desk.
Thank you for explaining. So typically, if it's a new item, we have it brought to the board at the meeting so that I know to update the packet that I've put in record retention. Otherwise, the record retention isn't accurate. So thank you for,
I get that.
I know we can work through it.
Yeah.
All right.
We will.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Trustee Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. We reconvened the task force on the community and senior center this afternoon. Took a long break due to some circumstances outside of our control. We are going to be meeting for the first time in 2 weeks with the vendor that we have selected to help us through this initial process. It's a company called Progressive AE. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And I have one more thank you that the food pantry, where I volunteer 2 days a week at the First Presbyterian Church Food Pantry in downtown Lansing, was the happy recipient of 700 pounds of venison last week.
great.
So it's going to good cause, and we already are down like a quarter of it. We've given so much away. So thank you. Thank you to everybody involved, and especially Mike Ellis.
Who is
who is with the Parks Department and made the delivery and helped unpack it.
Thank you. Just in case that everyone doesn't know who that is. Anyone else? Then we'll move on to item 8, which is approval of the agenda. Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I move the agenda as presented this evening.
Support.
All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And item 9 is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, I would point out that the consent agenda includes our usual communications, minutes for our January 9 special township board meeting, and our January 9 regular township board meeting. Item C is the typical bills. D is an audit engagement letter. I hope all of the board members have reviewed that. That is an agreement with Yo and Yo to, let's see, a letter proposing an agreement between the Township Finance Department and a Yo and Yo for the year ending December 31, 2024. But also included in that item is a motion to appoint trustee Marna Wilson as board audit representative and to authorize the finance director, Dante Ianni, to sign and return the engagement letter. There is an item E, credit card policy update. And specifically, that is a recommendation from the finance director to add the human resource specialist as an authorized user of the credit card. Item F is, we've seen several times at this table, the Meridian Township, Delhi Township standby fire agreement. And that's a 4-year agreement, we should note. Item G is the fourth quarter investment report from Treasurer DeShane. And item H is the ratification of a new paramedic appointment. And as the chief alluded to, this authorizes the fire department to appoint Leslie Ireland as a full-time paramedic. Do I have a motion, Mr. DeShane?
I move to approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Supported by trustee Wilson. Okay. Ms. Gordon, could we have a roll call vote?
Supervisor Jackson,
Yes.
Clerk Guthrie,
Yes.
Treasurer DeShane,
Yes.
Trustee Hendrickson.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland,
Yes.
Trustee Trezise,
Yes.
Trustee Wilson,
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson.
Yes. We move on now to item 10. There are no questions for the attorney tonight. Item 11, no public hearings. And we move then to item 12, action items. 12A is the 2024 Board and Commission appointments. And so in your packet, the first, I guess I'll make the motion and the board will approve. The Corridor Improvement Authority has 4 vacancies. The first motions proposed for board consideration are to move to approve the appointment of Adam Hodges to the Corridor Improvement Authority for a term ending February 1st, 2027.
Support.
Supported by Mr. DeShane. All in favor of, are there comments? Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Is this one of the positions that requires you to be a township resident? I noticed that he listed a Lansing address on his resume.
It is not. I have asked Director Clark, I asked her to research that question. Ms. Clark, could you speak to that question?
Good evening. So the Corridor Improvement Authority is a development board, and so it has specific state statutes for its membership. Majority of the membership need to be property owners or have an ownership or business interest within the property, so it doesn't make a residential, it actually is, in my case, you could infer it's less focused on residential ownership or residential participation. There is one particular seat in the Corridor Improvement Authority that is a required residential seat. And that person is already on the CIA and occupies that seat as the resident. And then so the remaining seats, we can mix up with residents and businesses, but it should be heavier majority of business interest on the corridor.
Thank you.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the appointment of Adam Hodges to the Corridor Improvement Authority for a term ending February 1, 2027. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
We move to reappoint Chris Nugent and Chris Redtrink to the Corridor Improvement Authority for a term ending February 1, 2027.
Support.
Comments? Mr. DeShane.
Chris Nugent is a neighbor of mine. He is very involved in vice president of a local bank and has helped by being a major sponsor to Celebrate Meridian over the years. And so Chris has made a contribution through his business, and he's involved in other ways in the community. He'll be an excellent addition to the Corridor Improvement Authority.
Actually, this is a reappointment as a matter of fact.
Excellent reappointment.
Other comments? Okay, the motion is to reappoint Chris Nugent and Chris Redstrink to the Corridor Improvement Authority for a term ending February 1, 2027. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Then the Community Resources Commission has one vacancy with the term ending December 31, 2024. The following motion is proposed for board consideration. I move to approve the appointment of Lisa Whiting Dobson to the Community Resources Commission for a term ending December 31, 2024.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Sunderland. Comments?
Oh, I know Lisa Whiting Dobson. I've known her since I was like 14 years old. And she is very successful at Michigan State University, and she is a very good addition to this commission.
Okay. Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Will Ms. Dobson still be serving on the Communications Commission, or will she be resigning from that? I don't know what the discussion was regarding this one. Can someone serve on two commissions?
I believe she can serve
We have
on.
others on two commissions.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, okay.
We have
Great.
several people on
Okay.
more than one, yes.
Okay, good.
That okay?
She's very good on the Communications Commission,
you didn't wanna lose her.
I'm sure staff would probably hate to lose her. And as the board liaison, she's an excellent addition to that commission, and I know that she will be on this one as well.
Okay. Other comments? Then the motion is to approve the appointment of Lisa Whiting Dobson to the Community Resources Commission for a term ending December 31, 2024. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. The chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The Zoning Board of Appeals has one vacancy with the term ending 12/31/2026. A current alternate member, Anthony Bennett, is interested in moving to a full membership. And so the motion is to approve the appointment of Anthony Bennett to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term ending December 31, 2026. Mr. DeShane.
I second that motion.
All right.
And serving on the ZBA, I've seen Anthony act as zoning board member in the absence of other board members. He's been a well-informed member for those meetings he's participated in. I'm sure he will be an excellent addition to the Zoning Board of Appeals as a full-time member.
Thank you. Mr. Trezise. Trustee Trezise.
I concur with Mr. DeShane. I've been at a couple of meetings at the ZBA, and he was present and was very participatory and knowledgeable about the procedures and the issues presented.
Thank you. Anyone else? The motion is to approve the appointment of Anthony Bennett to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term ending December 31, 2026. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. The chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
The Downtown Development Authority has 5 vacancies. Keep that in mind. The following motion is proposed for board consideration. I move to approve the appointment of Ronald Sadeo to the Downtown Development Authority for a term ending December 31, 2027. Do I have
Support.
Mr. Trezise will support? You have comments to add?
I'm just looking at his resume here. He does have significant experience in a number of different areas. I think he'll be a productive member of the DDA.
Thank you. And to Mr. Hendrickson's concerns, on the DDA, the member must have a business interest or a residency in the DDA specifically.
Correct.
And Mr. Sadeo fits that requirement. Other comments? Then the motion is to approve the appointment of Ronald Sadeo to the Downtown Development Authority for a term ending December 31, 2027. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The Environmental Commission has 2 vacancies. The following motions are proposed for board consideration. I move to approve the appointment of Andrea Paul to the Environmental Commission for a term ending 12/31/2024.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Wilson. Comments? All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Also for the Environmental Commission, I move to approve the appointment of Yuman Lee to the Environmental Commission for a term ending 12/31/2026.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Hendrickson. Comments? All right, the motion is to approve the appointment of Yuman Lee to the Environmental Commission for a term ending 12/31/2026. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. The chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The Local Officials Compensation Commission has 1 vacancy. Following motion, I move to approve the appointment of James Winston to the Local Officials Compensation Commission for a term ending 12/31/2028. Mr. DeShane.
I second it. And Emily, would you advance the page? Okay. Go down to the next page. Okay. There is a typo there. His last name does not have a T in it. It's
Wind
WIN.
Sand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you just make that typo correction. I've known Jim for about 30 years. He's a retired state employee, worked as a software engineer for years, raised his family in the Blueberry Farms neighborhood. An excellent member of the community. And he spoke to me looking for a way to serve the community. And I said, we do have openings, and here's one of them. And so I think he'll make an excellent addition to the Local Officials Compensation Commission.
Okay. Other comments? The motion is to approve the appointment of James Wynn Sand to the Local Officials Compensation Commission for a term ending 12/31/2028. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. The chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The Board of Review has one alternate vacancy. The motion is to approve the appointment of David Lick as an alternate to the Board of Review for a term ending 12/31/2024.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Wilson. Comment? Then the motion is to approve the appointment of David Lick as an alternate to the Board of Review for a term ending 12/31/2024. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you all for your cooperation and consideration. We move now to item 12B. And as soon as I find it. Just have to catch up with myself. So over the past several years, the board has recommended naming a supervisor pro tem in advance to simplify the process in the case one is needed. The original proposal was to make one-year appointments and rotate it through the trustees. It's time to appoint a trustee as supervisor pro tem for 2024. My motion is that the board appoint through December 31, 2024, trustee Scott Hendrickson to act as supervisor pro tem at any meeting of the township board wherein the supervisor is absent.
Support.
Supported by trustee Wilson. What can I say? Trustee Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor, and I certainly appreciate being selected to take this role on through 2024, should the board decide. It is a relatively emeritus position, as Supervisor Jackson has been present at every meeting that I've at least been at.
So far.
But should I be called upon, I'd be more than happy to serve in that role. So
Thank you. Other comments? Then the motion is to appoint trustee Scott Henderson to act as supervisor pro tem at any meeting wherein the supervisor is absent. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And thank you, trustee Hendrickson. Item 12C is 2024 initial budget amendments. These will be presented to us tonight by Finance Director Dante Ianni.
Madam Supervisor, members of the board, I prepared a list of suggested budget amendments to amend the 2024 budget that was put forward last summer and adopted in September. There were a few unanticipated items that came up after that budget was adopted. Probably the biggest dollar amount change you've probably seen is the increased salaries for police and fire as part of our recruitment program. So I factored that in for the year, and that's probably the biggest dollar amount change you've seen. Some of the other items, we were approved by the federal government for a grant for fire equipment. And so I've added that in, the revenue and also the expenditures for the fire grant we received. Also, one of the suggestions we're putting forward is to transfer in some interest we had on ARPA, which is about $90,000 last year. That money is unrestricted. We can use that as part of a match. So we'd like to use the ARPA funds, transfer those into the fire fund as a match for the federal grant for fire equipment. So those are probably the biggest changes. A few other items. We had some unspent money last year for an IT project that was out of ARPA funds. So we want to spend the rest of that this year. So increase a little money that was unspent last year for IT to finish that project. So those are the main changes. The projected fund balance, I added back in the 1.25 million last year from the Meridian Redevelopment Fund that we did not spend last year. Back in, our original budgeted fund balance was a surplus of 114,370. And the first quarter budget amendments, as I've discussed, would decrease that balance by about $655,804, leaving us a projected use of fund balance of $541,434 and a projected ending fund balance of $9.356394. I'll have better numbers for you for last year after I do the closing entries. And once we have our audit, you can get the final numbers. As of right now, I think last year we were a little heavier on revenue and a little lighter on expenditures for what's come in. But I'll have better numbers for that once we complete the closing entries and get the audit.
Thank you. Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I'll start us off by moving to approve the supplemental fourth quarter 2023 budget amendments.
Support.
I'm sorry. These are not the fourth quarter amendments, right? These are the first quarter.
It's initial budget amendments. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a typo. Should be initial 2024 budget amendments.
Okay. So then I will restate. I move to approve the initial 2024 budget amendments with a decrease in, I'm so sorry. It is actually, is it not an increase in?
Decrease in budgeted fund balance in the first quarter budget amendments of $655,000.
Yeah, now I'm just questioning everything. Okay.
Two motions.
All right. So
Go ahead, read it through first before you say it out loud.
Yeah, right.
We can wait.
Okay. Yes, I understand now. So I will move to approve the initial 2024 budget amendments with a decrease in budgeted fund balance for the general fund in the amount of $655,804, which projects a use of fund balance of $541,434. Based on the 2024 results, the projected fund balance at December 31, 2024 will be $9,356,394.
Support.
Okay.
I'm still looking at old language.
Clerk Guthrie, I think, was.
Trustee Wilson.
Trustee Wilson.
Beat me to it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
It's yours if you want it.
So, thank you, Director Adney, for bringing these forward to us. Obviously, we knew that these were coming with the increases, especially to the recruitment and retention program. I do have one question, which is the amounts that you've amended here for the police and fire. That covers the totality of the year, not just the first quarter, correct?
That's my understanding, yes. That's
Okay.
what I've calculated.
What's that?
That's what I've calculated, yes, for full
Okay.
year.
So we won't have to come back. We're not expecting to see this much 3 more times throughout the year.
No, you should not. I've tried to give you what our projections are for the year.
Okay, terrific. Then, yeah, none of this is unexpected, and I'm just glad to see and hear about the changes that you've included here, especially given the successes that we're hearing about already coming from the recruitment and retention program. No reason not to pass these and move forward.
And Trustee Wilson.
I concur with Trustee Henderson's analysis. Thank you.
Further comments? Questions? So the motion is to approve the supplemental fourth quarter,
Initial 2024.
First quarter 2024.
first quarter of 2024 budget amendments.
Yes.
And And the rest, he said.
Great.
If
That's right.
my fellow board members are satisfied with that description,
Yes, we are.
we will take a roll call vote on this motion.
Trustee Hendrickson?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Trezise?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson?
Yes.
Clerk Guthrie?
Yes.
Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries seven
Thank
to
you,
zero.
Mr. Yanni.
Thank you.
Item 12D is ordinance 2024-01, rezone 4660 Marsh Road from PO Professional and Office to C1 Commercial. For introduction, Mr. Director Schmidt.
Madam Supervisor, thank you very much. This is a follow-up upon the request from the last meeting to rezone the property of 4660 March Road. From its current designation to C1 Commercial, the Planning Commission reviewed this, recommended approval. The Township Board reviewed this at their last meeting, had no major concerns. Just to reiterate, this would simply bring the use of the property in conformance with the zoning and make it so that they can continue to use the property going forward with the uses that are in there. This is candidly, this idea of service commercial is on staff's radar to see if it's something we need to address as the topic is coming up more and more in the past year or so. But this is where we're at with this property. Staff would recommend approval at this time, and if the board so directs, we will publish this as appropriate for adoption at the next meeting.
Okay. Board members. Mr. Trezise.
I move to approve the resolution as presented.
I think you have to read it.
I have to read the whole thing. Okay, all right. Resolution is at a regular meeting.
This one right here.
Oh, okay. Move to adopt the resolution approving the introduction ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance to rezone the property at 4660 Marsh Road, parcel ID number 33-02-02-21-428-002 from PO Professional Office to C1 Commercial.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Wilson. Mr. Trezise, you have other comments?
Just that when we looked at this at the Planning Commission when I was there, this was really a very simple proposal to change. The building right now is operated or is a non-conforming use, I believe, and this will allow this to fall within the zoning to be appropriate to the use and allow the relatively new owner to add a single chair beauty salon, which was the only reason for this. So it was a really unanimous approval from the Planning Commission, and we strongly recommend the board approve it.
Okay. And seconded by
Trustee Wilson.
Trustee
Yes.
Wilson.
Thank you, Madam
Comments to
Supervisor.
say, to make?
I concur with making the property consistent with the use, and I applaud you on taking a look at other exceptions to this, that we can fix the zoning. Thank you.
Mr. DeShane?
Thank you, Supervisor. I too will support this. It seems to be a common sense change in compliance with what it's already being used for now. Appreciate the Planning Commission's recommendation as well. Director Schmidt, do you see other properties way of background? We heard from the assessor that residential properties went up by 8% last year in the township. Commercial went up by 4%. And office space went down. She didn't give an exact number, but it dropped in value. Do you see further office to commercial requests likely coming before the Planning Commission and the board?
You know, we have not been approached by any. You will recall that in 2022, we approved one for the corner of Okemos Road and Jolly Oak. Former bank site converted to commercial. This is an existing sort of pseudo-commercial building that was zoned office. I think what you're going to see is those edge examples, like a bank can go in either office or commercial. Stuff like that, you might see some conversion, but by and large, we're not seeing a lot of real-time action in that arena at this time.
Okay, thank you. Other question?
Other comments or questions? So the motion is to adopt the resolution approving for introduction ordinance 2024-01, ordinance to rezone the property at 4660 Marsh Road at the partial ID number 33-02-02-21-4328-002 from PO Professional Office to C1 Commercial. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
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 Opposed to the motion? No? Please say yeah, please say no. The chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. And so, Mr. Schmidt, this means that in the next 2 weeks, this will come back for final adoption?
Yes, ma'am, we'll publish it as noted, and it'll come back. Again, the applicant apologizes for their absence. They still got a lot of family stuff going on.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We come to item 12E. This is where action is needed to set a date for joint board and commission meeting. And Mr. Frank Walsh, Manager Walsh, oh, there you are. Manager Walsh will
Thank you.
introduce this issue.
Just by way of introduction, I'm sure most of you are aware of this meeting, but just in case you're not, and I'll be brief. For many years now, going back past a decade, the Township Board, typically in February, holds a joint meeting with all of the different boards and commissions. We fill the room, and there's usually 2 or 3 people from each of the boards and commissions, and we go around and get an annual update from each of those about what's going on. Typically, we've done that in February. COVID, a couple years terminated our ability to have that, so we'd like to bring that back. February, we're not going to be able to do that in February due to the early voting that will occur in this room, so it just didn't work this February. So I suggested a couple of dates for you. So that's what we're looking for, and to have the board set a date if they're interested in doing this again this year, doing it this year.
Thank you. Board, your challenge is to make a recommendation, 1, as to whether or not to continue this practice, and 2, when to do it this year. Mr. DeShane.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I like this meeting a lot, and we find out what's happening with our board and the commissions. We get a chance to interact with them. It's a really valuable meeting. I think we should definitely do it again this year. If we're going to move it to off of February, I would like to see us do it in March rather than April. By April, the weather's getting better. People if it's a warm night in April, people are going to go out there and want to be outside and not so much in a meeting. So for just simple reasons, I think we'll get better turnout if we do it in March. Either date would work, but March would be my first preference. Thank you.
Mr. Hendrickson?
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I noted that the April 23rd date also falls during the Township Association Conference, which I know a number of our board members are planning to attend. So my suggestion would be that we try to push for the March date. You presented the 26th, or Manager Walsh presented the 26th in the memo. The 12th would work also. We don't have a meeting the 12th either. Either of those dates would work for me.
Trustee Wilson.
Madam Supervisor, I'll make a motion to set the following date of March 26th as the annual Meridian Township Board and Commission meeting. The meeting shall begin at 6 p.m.
Support. Supported by Clerk Guthrie. Trustee Wilson.
It makes sense. I understand sooner the better, since we've had it in February in the past. I agree, it's a really important meeting that we all get to see each other. So if the 26th is a good date for everyone, I'd say let's go.
All right, clerk, you got three?
I support this. This is part of the board's policy and the board's policy manual, that this is something that we do. And so I support this. I echo trustee Wilson's comments and treasurer DeShane's comments about the importance of getting together. It's highly valued, and it's a good way for us to stay connected and communicated with each other, what's happening on our boards and commissions, and how we can govern together effectively. So I appreciate you putting this together and continuing to have this on an annual basis. That's why I support it.
Okay, other comments? Seeing none, then the motion is to set the following date of March 26 as the annual Meridian Township Board and Commission meeting. Meeting shall begin at 6 p.m. All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
March 26 it is, thank you. Mr. Walsh.
If I may, just take one more
Sure.
second, just to address another issue. To give you a complete financial outlook of where we're at, not just in the amendments that we had this evening that you approved, shows a fund balance of around 9.3 million. Just to remind those, and for trustee Trezise, in addition to that 9.3 million, we also have a pension stabilization fund, which is 2.1 million that the board established a year and a half ago. We also have a capital projects fund. This all used to be part of one fund, which was our general fund. So we have 9.3 plus the 2.3, 2.4 in the capital projects fund, in addition to the 2.1 in the pensions. So we have roughly $14 million in the general fund. And if you go back a decade ago, that was 5.2 million. So we've increased it significantly over the past decade, and we're in really strong financial shape. I believe that we're going to be able to pay without having to dip into the funds anymore. I think we're going to be able to pay for the dorm project at the fire station and get us through 2024. And that's with all the pension payments and retiree healthcare payments additional that we've made over the past 10 years. So that's our real financial picture. It's about $14 million of a general fund balance. Thank you.
Thank you. We now come to board discussion items. It's item 13 and 13A is 2023 Master Plan Update. Mr. Schmidt will talk to us. We talked about this at our last meeting. You're going to bring us up to date tonight.
Yes, ma'am. So, great discussion at the last meeting. We wanted to circle back with follow up on the things I said I would follow up on, and then give you a sense of where we're going to make some changes. And we have not made the changes to the document yet, because as the communications department told me, it's not that easy. So I want to make sure we get this locked in before I go and make them do some work for me. So to follow up on a couple items, the potential for the focus on West Green River Avenue between the township boundary and Park Lake Road. We do have reference to it on page 10 as a goal now, and as it relates to CIA, but certainly can add language if there's some language that we'd like to add. Talking about the parcels on the urban service boundary that would come into the urban service boundary on Powell Road, we've listed those there. There was one, I forgot one property, I apologize, at the last meeting. Renaming the transitional residential, it was good feedback from the treasurer that I wasn't aware of. We don't love any of the alternatives we came up with, but mixed intensity residential or intermediate residential is probably our best bet, just to still try and give that feeling that this is not just a single family district. The balance between the single family and the multifamily residential, we tossed this around a little bit internally, and we realized that we think the basis of this is going to be fleshing out the build-out analysis, which is going to give us a good idea of where we're at now and what's available, and then how do we find that balance, maintain that balance, change that balance. And so I think what we would recommend at this point is adding objective under the strengthening and expanding residential opportunities, and the language we came up with is evaluate the balance between varying residential typologies and what that balance should look like going forward. Planners love the word typology. Reference to the economic development strategy, very easy to add. We just need to figure out where it's going to go based on how these other changes go, and it changes our formatting. And then talking about the 425, so we pulled the College Fields one specifically just for discussion purposes. It's a 50-year agreement, automatically extends unless either party terminates, and there's a very specific termination procedure. If it's terminated, the property comes back to us, the utilities stay with the city, so it gets very complicated. But that is, we'll continue to look into these, and I think this is something that I think we just need to do some education ourselves, because we've had a lot of staff turnover, as everyone is obviously aware, since the last time we had one of these economic development agreements or annexation agreements. And so this is the crux. I went back and listened to the meeting again at 2 times speed just to get through it a little quicker. And this is the crux of what I took out of this. Obviously, if I missed something, please let me know. But what we're hoping to get out of this evening is a sense that, yes, this answers our questions. These are the couple of 3 changes we need to make. So we can go back to communications, get these changes incorporated, and bring you a final draft, hopefully for adoption at your next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Board members. Mr. Duchesne.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I really like the mixed intensity term. I don't know how other board members, intermediate, I'm not so crazy about. I mean, rental housing is now a choice. It's not a reflection of lower family economic conditions as it might have been 50 years ago or even 20 years ago. People choose to rent now. It's the mortgage benefit on your federal tax, the mortgage and property tax benefits on your federal tax forms isn't what it used to be. It's gone, basically. That's why only 10% of people itemize now compared to 30% just 6 or 7 years ago. Regarding the urban services boundary, I really appreciate your totaling the number of parcels. It looks like there's about 80 acres. If you take out the Oklahoma School parcel, which, as you pointed out last meeting, we don't even know if they would be technically included in this or not included. They kind of have their own autonomy as a school property. But even at 80 acres, our urban service boundary covers about 1/3 of the township, the eastern third, and that's about 7,700 acres. So this 80 acres is just over 1%. And so I think we can safely say these are minor technical corrections, by no means a change in the outlook of what the urban services boundary does. It had good intentions. Previous boards made that decision. I think it was a brilliant decision. It just said this side of the township we're going to develop, this side we're going to leave in the rural characteristics, and it kind of settled once and for all the grow versus no growth argument in the township, because we have a growth area, we have a no growth area, and it was kind of brilliant. So we're not changing that idea. We are simply providing some technical changes here for the parcels that, as you pointed out before, and some of which are split around the middle. Half of it's in the boundary, half of it's out. That's a crazy way to deal with the property. So I'm glad we're cleaning this up now. So I like these changes. Thanks for bringing these right back to us.
Let me ask Mr. Schmidt, so what you need from us tonight is some kind of consensus on these changes that you agreed with us may need to be, or are you assuming that unless we're saying we don't like it anymore, that those changes will be made?
Yeah, I think we are absolutely proposing to make these changes. Unless the board disagrees. We were trying to incorporate your conversation from the last meeting, and this is sort of how we got there. Certainly, in terms of the expectation this evening, that's step one. Step two would be if there are any other changes, anything else we need to discuss, now would be a great time, because we would like to get to a final draft and potential adoption.
And I have one more question. So this build-out analysis, are you proposing that become a part of the master plan?
So it is in there now. So that is at least our first stab at it is in there on page 30 and 31. And so what we plan to do as a staff is to do a deeper dive into that.
Okay.
And really get into, what is, so of those, currently 375 residentially zoned parcels that can support more than one unit, what does that look like? Of the 87 parcels that are tiny, can they support anything at all? Or are they candidates for something else? And then get into the commercial side of things. There are a series of 58 vacant commercial parcels. So what does that look like? What does that look like if it goes mixed use? And so we just want to do some scenario building with what's currently in place. So we have a solid baseline as a community of, okay, this is, in theory, this is the end. Now, are there changes that we make to direct density elsewhere? Are there changes we make to certain areas that it makes more sense? Things like that. We just want to have a good baseline of data to start that conversation.
Okay. But, so does that mean that we're not going to see it as soon as 2 weeks from now?
You will not, no. That is actually one of the goals of this plan, is to flesh it out further.
Okay. Trustee Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Supervisor. I too like mixed intensity. That makes it much clearer, I think. I just have a question about these 8 parcels on Powell Road. Are these all undeveloped properties right now?
There is a single-family house on the Adams property. There's a single-family house on the New China property. The driving range is on the 2 Guytona-Perna properties. Oklahoma Schools property is vacant. The Ide property is vacant. The Turnwell property has a house on it, and the Potterpin property is vacant.
If any of these property holders, such as the Ide Company, decided to buy additional land to the east, would we still hold and then do some big development that would cover more than just this particular parcel?
So I think from
Still hold the line?
Yeah, I mean, I think from our perspective, this is the line of where we're going to provide services to.
Okay.
The other, not to point out, I don't like to point out specifics and reasons why things won't happen, but, the majority of these properties butt up against one single property that has a lot of wetlands and is owned by one property owner that has his house right in the middle of the property. Oh. And the idea that that property would actually develop in any reasonable time frame is highly unlikely. There's a couple of smaller properties at the sort of the middle of or in the far north end of this addition that butt up to these properties that might make that argument, but it's highly unlikely because this is where we are going to serve utilities.
Well, I think it's important to tell our community that we're straightening the line and we're holding the line. I think that's what they want to hear, because we recognize it was very zigzag and really challenging in the past. It's time to correct that, but it's only going in so far into the current urban service boundary. It's a very limited change, and I think it's really positive to get this straightened out. Thank you.
Mr. Hendrickson?
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I also agree that mixed intensity is preferable to intermediate. I think it was my question that was posed about the western edge, the western area on Grand River. I think what I was hoping for, you were talking about small area plans. And I was posing the question, is it possible to generate a small area plan for that area between Park Lake and the western boundary of the township? Since that is sort of a unique and contiguous area that might benefit from that kind of a look.
Yeah, we can rework.
I think it was on the Pika page of the master plan that it was talking about small area plans. And I don't want to get it confused because I'm not talking about necessarily adding a Pika.
No, and I think if you're on page 10, we actually already have a thinly veiled reference to doing this in another area, the M78 corridor. Mm-hmm. We don't call it a small area plan because we were trying to differentiate between the Pikas and the other areas. And so I think what we can do is we can rework the paragraph just above that, that's talking about this area
Okay.
Yeah, because I think what we did is we just kind of jumped straight to changing the ordinance, but it's a valid point that both of these corridors, the M78 and the West Grand River, probably need to be treated similarly.
Okay. And then my other question was merely a curiosity, which is when you were looking at the 425 for College Fields, when was that approved?
I'm happy to follow up on that. I don't know.
What is the 50th year is really.
I will follow up on that. The back of my brain is itching somewhere in the 40s, but I will follow up on that question.
Thank you.
It was 2002. I think it was around 2000.
Was it 2002?
2002,
Okay, I thought it was
believe.
late 40s, but that would put it just into the 50s then. Okay,
We got some time.
we got some time.
And are there others?
My records are that we have essentially 3 agreements that are all 425s. The Gaslight Village area of East Lansing, so Abbott and Lake Lansing. There's a sort of it's not an L, but a strip of land there that was annexed into East Lansing. The Costco site, as everyone's aware, and College Fields. I may be forgetting one off the top of my head. There's an alarm going off in my brain right now, but I think that's it. And so we'll go through them and we'll get the board a broader at least the information that you're looking for on all of the ones we have.
Clerk Guthrie?
Thank you, Madam Supervisor, and thank you, Trustee Wilson, for addressing the need to be clear on the language in regards to the urban service boundary. I do find the pages on the build-out analysis a little conflicting in regards to the urban service boundary and the intent of what this language is trying to say. And there's 2 separate paragraphs on that, and I'm trying to make sense when I read these paragraphs what those mean in regards to the urban service boundary and the direction that the Planning Commission has recommended and the direction of the board. So when I read this, I feel like what I heard from Trustee Wilson tonight was a little bit more clear than what I'm reading in the build-out analysis section, if that makes sense to you.
No, I understand, and so
Okay.
I would reiterate to that point, the build-out analysis is purely a math problem. How many vacant properties do we have? What's the current zoning? What's the yield? Right, because whether I'm in the urban service boundary or not, I can still develop my land. It's a matter of whether or not I get services provided to me.
Right.
And the services are, in the end, what increase the density on a property. Because if I have to put in well and septic in a development, there's only so many units I could, in theory, get, even if I was able to max out under the RR zoning, which is also very low yield residential zoning. And so the build-out analysis is just trying to solve for that math problem of what is X, which is.
Am I missing that in here? When I'm reading this build-out analysis, these 2 pages, like what you said just now is not in the first paragraph of this built-out analysis, and it makes perfect sense when you say that out loud and you're explaining it to me, but when I read the build-out analysis, I don't read it in the same manner in which you're explaining it to me right now. And maybe I'm
Okay,
maybe I'm misreading it, but it's not spelled out in that way.
we can clarify that, because I think it's clear that people need to understand that the USB does not stop construction, it stops higher intensity development because the utilities aren't available. And so we can add a little more to the build-out analysis to that first paragraph to explain that this is, more of a math problem of under the current zoning, what is possible.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there other comments? Then I presume you got more information you can use?
Absolutely.
And you'll let us know when you're ready to come back.
We will, we'll work on that language, and the language Trustee Hendrickson's looking for, and then we will get with communications and try and get a close to final draft ready for the board's review.
At what point would this need to go back to the planning commission for, or does it?
Does not need to, it does not by law go back. It is entirely up to the board at this point.
Okay.
If you determine that enough changes have been made that you believe the planning commission needs to reweigh in, you can obviously send it back at any time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 13B on our agenda is liquor license process, 120-day moratorium. Director Clark will tell us what she's thinking.
Good evening. So in 2020, congratulations to the township, our population increased. The Michigan Liquor Control Commission, they are the authority to grant the opportunity for alcoholic sales across the state. Licensing and Regulatory Affairs transmits all of the licenses for alcoholic sales in the state, and our quota increased. So Meridian Township received 4 new Class C liquor licenses. Class Cs, I could think of as like a tavern or a hotel type license. So it's a license where me as an individual can go into an establishment, sit down, and order a drink in some sort of capacity. What I'm learning is that our process for liquor licenses currently is very outdated. When we looked at what would the fees cost to put on the application to charge someone, we didn't really have anything that's very current. We went with our gut and what we felt like was appropriate. But after some discussion with experts, it turns out that that may not be the right number. That would also be a budget change. Our process is going to be a part of the ordinance, so it would be an ordinance change. So there's some heavy digging that's required, I think, for my department, for community planning and other departments associated with approving liquor licenses that we would like to have. So tonight, what's before you is a request to have a 120-day moratorium, 4 months, for our departments to get better training, to speak with some experts, go over our ordinance and our process and update our process, which more than likely would also update fees, and update our standards for liquor licenses. I think what's ticking in the back of my mind is, so we only have these limited number of licenses. Once they are granted and in circulation, that's it, unless our population increases or the other circumstances in which a license would come back. And so I think about, we've put so much effort behind redevelopment in our community, and there's still pockets that have not completely filled the commercial. And it's very enticing and incentivizing to a business to have a partnership with their community that has access to a liquor license that they would be able to get at market rate instead of having to go purchase from someone else, which the sale of a liquor license I've seen, even in my professional experience. We bought a liquor license for the city of Jackson for a redevelopment opportunity, and it was like $30,000, which is well over really what was the sticker price, and especially since the city had quotas, right? So I think what we're really asking is just give us some time to really dig into this. There is some professional training that our police department has already gone through that I've spoken with. They do a lot of the professional training for municipal employees, clerks' offices through the state. And I already have some meetings set up with MLCC to kind of get a little bit of an understanding of their process. A little hard to get a human, but I found a human who's going to be able to tell me a little bit more about all of the categories of things that are associated with the local unit of government for approval. So that's what we are asking for today. It's a resolution to kind of explain in detail. We've gotten an increase of licenses, and now we have a lot of applications coming forward. I do want to tell the board, we did receive a new liquor license application recently. And so I'm going to ask our attorneys whether or not with this coming into the process, you know, what is our parameters on taking up this license or not. If they say we have to continue through our process, then we'll continue doing that. But if not, then that would pause as well. But I just don't want to blindside you if in a month or so there's a liquor license on the agenda.
Okay. So you're asking for the board to essentially declare 120-day moratorium on processing new liquor licenses so that you can get your ordinances and the like up to date. And it would be useful, apparently, to start that time as soon as possible.
Yes, I believe so, but that's up to the board, yes.
Board members. Trustee Wilson.
I had two questions. When did you want to commence this 120-day moratorium?
Well, at worst, then it would be back at the next meeting, and I would hope that the board would move it on for action.
No, but could it be, I think it should be part of our resolution when it's commencing, so that anyone who read the resolution would understand the timeframe.
It is at the signing of the resolution, so.
Effective
Effective,
today?
effective by the date when the clerk would sign it. So if the board were to adopt today, then I think the clerk, you'd probably sign it tomorrow. I think, is that how you do resolutions?
We follow up all board meeting items the next day,
The very
yes.
next day, so it
You'd
would
want
be
it
the
to be
24th.
125 of 24? No, 124.
24.
124 of 24.
124 of 24.
Okay,
That sounds like a good.
all right. And the other thing is, what is the market value of a Class C liquor license these days?
Like $20,000.
How much?
20,000.
Oh, I thought it was more than that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. DeShane.
Is this application you got for one of the 4 new licenses? Is it the first or is it the 4th or something in between?
This would be the third application you've received for the 4 new quotas that you've received.
Okay,
You have approved 2.
okay.
And a part of the question, seems to me, is for the attorneys, can we stop those that we've already received at the start of this moratorium?
Well, this question specifically is, can I stop going through the process of this most recent receivable?
Right.
So this one was, the 2 that you've already done, you've already put through, I would imagine they've already submitted to MLCC. 1 of the 2 is in active investigation, which is what the Liquor Control Commission will do.
Okay. Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. And just to further that statement that you made, there has been discussion at staff level. And you and I have had this discussion about the process, because both of us have said, well, what is our process? What is our role? How do we do this? We've had this discussion prior to application coming to the board. So this is something that we have been looking at. And so while we needed something to take immediate action like the manager took in regards to securing elections, this is something that I'm appreciative of Director Clark for investigating and looking into and making sure that we are following the process, that we're all on board, that I know what my role is as clerk in that process. The chiefs know their role, because there are several departments who take part in processing liquor license applications. And so I thank you for pausing and saying, hey, let's look at this and make sure we're all doing the right thing for the township and for the people who are applying for this.
Thank you.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. So when were we informed that we had 4 new liquor licenses?
Very good question. Not sure. The first time I recognized we had 4 was the request for the property owner at Clarion Point. I can't remember the address right now. They were in communication with the Liquor Control Commission about their classification of license. And they told them, well, Meridian Township has had an increase in quota. They have 4 new licenses. So if you would like to, this is a process you can go through to change your classification. And so that was an application we received. I don't really remember. I don't know. I have no idea how. That's a question on my list, is how do we know?
Right.
I mean, I guess we can assume when our population increases at each census that could be a possibility, but I would like to ask that question. I would like to know. There is a possibility of also getting licenses back through the process if they go inactive through escrow, but there's a bunch of different things. So I have a few questions on my list. I'm supposed to meet with MLCC, I think, Thursday.
Sure. So at some point, we received them after the 2020 decennial census, 4 liquor licenses. Of those 4, 2 have been through this board and approved. 1 has been applied for and has not yet been processed by the board. And a 4th is sitting not currently in use.
Correct. If you look at the MLCC website, it will say the opposite, though. It will actually just say 1 is more than likely floating out there, and we have 3. I think it has to go completely through the entire process, through investigation, and come back to the clerk as a license for it to be.
Right. But for the purposes of what we have to do to process a liquor license, we've processed 2 and a third's in the pipe.
Correct.
Now, I'm not a lawyer, but every interaction I've ever had with a lawyer tells me that we can't stop someone and change the process once they've initiated it. Maybe our lawyers will tell us something different,
Correct.
but I doubt it.
I
Right?
know. I gotta ask. I'm gonna ask.
Ask, give them some billables. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. But I have the suspicion that they're going to tell us that we have to use the process that we have because they've already started it.
Yes.
So what we're talking about really is 1 liquor license.
Right.
And whether we change the rules here prior to, or how we change the rules here prior to this nebulous 4th potential applicant that hasn't applied.
Correct.
Okay. I don't see any reason why we can't do this, except it feels a little too late, too late to me. I think it's a great thing that we investigate how to improve our processes. I question, since 3 of them have already applied, whether or not we're going to find ourselves running into a situation where we have a 4th applicant in the next 4 months, which would make this a worthwhile endeavor. But if you think that there's someone waiting in the wings, hoping to take advantage of what I just said about you're already in the pipeline, so you get to use it, then why not?
Yeah, I see that. My only other concerns would be if any licenses go into escrow and do come back to us, then we would go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. I think having a solid process for licenses, especially one that is considered an asset of the township, is a high parameter for us. We
Absolutely.
yes, and then to the other side of the redevelopment points, is having specific areas maybe in our ordinance or through the process where we're kind of incentivizing, we would like to see activity here. This might allow us to be able to decline a license as opposed, and have a reason, right? Have a legal vehicle to say, you know what, we're gonna decline, because, okay, if we get 6 applications for our one last license, that's another hair-raising situation for me, is how do I make a differentiation between which business for which license? What if they're in the same area? These are just things that we've been talking about.
And I totally agree with that. And my question has never in this conversation been, should we revamp our process and flesh it out in a way that makes more sense now that we have licenses available, and hopefully, if we grow in population, will again.
Right.
My question was, is 120 days really going to make the difference? If you think it is, then you obviously do, because here you are. But I question the usefulness of the moratorium, but I understand the reason for it.
Okay.
Mr. Duchesne?
Thank you. I'm glad you brought this forward. as you're from other board members, I wish we'd known about this before. I praised prior boards for the urban services boundary earlier. Now I'm wondering why prior boards didn't address this issue before. It seems like we have a first come, first basis.
Yeah.
You show up, you're first in line, you get the liquor license. I mean, it really kind of, and I know how valuable liquor licenses are. One time they were worth $70,000 or $80,000 apiece in different parts of the state. So they are valuable things, and we didn't have any criteria at all for awarding them. That really surprises me. I do want to pass this, and I want to pass this tonight. So I'm going to make a motion to suspend rules and act on the liquor license process of resolution for a moratorium of liquor license approval for 120 days.
Support.
Supported by Clerk Guthrie. Further comments?
Friendly amendment?
On the
Trustee
suspension of
Wilson.
rules.
Pardon? Oh, of the rule, never mind.
Of the rules.
The motion is to suspend the rules so that we can take up the proposed moratorium.
Tonight.
Correct?
Yes.
All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
And the motion hasn't been made yet. If you want to make the motion with your amendment to it.
Can we do that? All right. I move to approve the attached resolution for a 120-day moratorium of liquor license application approvals in Meridian Township during the 120 days, commencing on January 24th, 2024, no new applications for liquor licenses will be accepted or approved by the Township Board.
Support.
Would you like to comment further on
No, I think we
the addition?
covered it.
Mr. Hendrickson?
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I did have one additional question that I meant to ask. Did you reach out to the township attorneys to verify that action to establish a 120-day moratorium is in fact sound from a legal standpoint?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a new motion. Was seconded by whom? I think I missed that.
Shane.
I second it.
Mr. DeShane. The new motion is to approve the attached resolution for a 120-day moratorium of liquor license application approvals in Meridian Township. During the 120 days, new applications for liquor license will be accepted.
You have to insert the date. During the 120 days, commencing on.
Oh, no new applications for liquor license will be accepted or approved. And the date was January 24?
24.
Okay.
Auspicious.
All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Chair votes yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 13C, support emergency operations plan annual update.
Madam Chair and Board, thank you. So back in 2020, we rewrote this plan, and as it dictates annually, we have to look at any changes in staff members that are in the plan or any changes in the county requirements, things like that. So this is just the next rendition, so it's the fourth one that I've done. And it just shows that we changed the police chief, the finance director, and then some other succession planning names within the document. I think there was a total of 6 pages we changed names, basically. So I'm just here to ask you to approve it. This goes to the county once it's signed by all the players in it, and that supports us if we have any type of county declaration for an emergency. If this plan is not in place with them, then we are actually, by state rules, not eligible for any state or federal dollars. So that's a big reason why we do this. So I'm just asking you to approve it so we can get it to them and move on till next year. Any questions?
Mr. DeShane.
Regarding names, on page 6, we should replace Luann Maisner
Oh, I missed it.
with Courtney Wazinski.
Page 6?
Correct. record of distribution.
You're absolutely correct. I missed this page completely, so I'll redo this whole page.
And then page 11, replace Mary McGinnis with Katie Love.
Oh, because of the change, yeah. Okay.
Other comments? Clerk Guthrie?
And on page 6, I'd also like to see Communications Manager Sam Deal added to that if appropriate, if there are tasks assigned to her. And I also think on, same with page 29 and 30 in regards to the dissemination of communications, especially 30, we don't have a director anymore, so maybe that should read manager.
The manager is considered the communications director.
Oh, okay.
It is asked for his signature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But good
Thank
call.
you for that clarification.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't have a director of communications.
Yeah, so I apologize for I'm sorry, for the original page that the treasurer brought up. I completely missed that page. I got everything but that page, so I'll go back and redo that whole thing.
And then on page 31, do we not have, there's no one listed for title and department.
That's finance, should be Dante. It's not on yours?
On page 31, it says the line of succession for representing the finance function during a response to an emergency or disaster situation is blank.
Yeah, so those are just there to be filled in later. Those are in the early parts where we have the lines of succession. I think that's on page, let me get to it here. Got to figure out where it is first. There's a section for line of succession, page 11 is where it starts.
Still getting there, sorry.
So we don't, in the bottom part, we don't have a line of succession on that. I can always add one. We've never done that for the finance department, as you can see on page 11, but there's no reason why we can't add that.
So it's NA basically, like it doesn't apply.
Right.
Oh, okay. So I read it as, who is this, instead of it doesn't apply, kind of thing, since it was blank. Right.
Other concerns, comments? Then this should come back to us at our next meeting?
Absolutely. I'll come back at the next meeting with all the corrected things I missed. I apologize.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Item 14 on our agenda is comments from the public. Are there, no? Okay, item 15, other matters and board member comments. I have one. It is time for a new board photograph and we are proposing taking those photos at our next meeting, which is February 6th at 5:30 PM. Does that meet with everyone else's needs? All right. Are there other matters and board member comments? Mr. DeShane.
Since we have a little time tonight that we haven't had in past meetings, I will share with the board that the board is aware that we had an attempted fraud attack on our banking accounts, which the board was made aware of. They didn't get any money, they didn't come close to money, but there's an attempt made. It required us to look at our current banking partners, and we decided at that point to put out our banking services for an RFP. Last summer, a committee was formed with Finance Director Dante Ani, myself, Deputy Treasurer Deanne Mullet, and Bernie, our accountant at the time. We received 11 RFP responses. We narrowed it down to 4. We did in-person interviews with all 4, and we selected a bank, which is Fifth Third Bank, which has a presence here in Meridian Township and very strong treasury management. They have a whole department focused on working with municipal governmental banking. We then commenced with negotiating a contract with them. We've had legal counsel look it over. They've approved it with some amendments. So we will be kicking off our new banking partner as soon as tax season is done. So March 1 will be the date for that. Really shouldn't impact the board, but we are very confident that we have a more secure banking environment. Director Geebees was also part of that committee. Apologize for leaving you out. He brought to the discussion a really important factor, which is we don't allow remote banking. You're doing banking, you're doing it here in the building. And so Director Geeby suggested a limited set of IP addresses to access our banks. None of the other banks could provide that, but Fifth Third could, and that was a really important factor for us, so that no matter, we end up with a COVID environment again where no one can come in the building, and we have to change that, but we're far more secure in anything but a pandemic to move forward with our current banking environment. So the board had requested action on that last year. We wanted to make a change sooner than now, but it's a process, and we didn't want to quickly change banks and end up with a bank that was more secure than our current bank was. So we were confident we got a more secure bank. We also got better rates, and so we're confident that, especially in this high rate environment, we'll have some budget amendments within the year with some increased interest earnings than we expected in the current budget. So but that wasn't our primary focus. Our primary focus going in was security, security, and security. And we've got that with Fifth Third. So I just want to give the board an update on that.
Thank you. Okay, no other matters, board member comments? Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Seconded by trustee Sunderland. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, say no.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right.
I haven't voted.
Oh, well, get going.
The chair votes yes.
All right. Carries 7-0.